Welcome to Big Hearted Indie, the Citizen 7 podcast about genuine friendship, big-hearted service, and forming whole leaders in Indianapolis. Join your hosts Greg Enas, Don Palmer, and Chris Spangle every episode as they sit down with men who are building, mentoring, serving, and leading across our city. If you want deeper friendships, a clearer sense of purpose, and practical examples of leadership shaped by service, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us here on Big Hearted Indie. My name is Chris Spangle. Joining us today are Todd Maurer and David Morgan, and our hosts are Greg Enas and Don Palmer. And Don, we're going to go to you first, and why don't you just give us a bit of an introduction to Todd and David and set up our conversation today.
Okay. Well, Todd and I have been friends. We actually were in a small group at different times, right? So we have a legacy of a Young Presidents Organization forum. All three of us are in forum. David Morgan has the dubious distinction of being, I guess, a more esteemed, more beloved family to my youngest daughter than her family. She would come home from Miami of Ohio, and she would go by the Morgan's house before she would come to our house. She babysat for their three boys that are now high school and college age. So I serve on David's advisory board, and it seems like the three of us run into each other a lot and kind of share some of the same circles. So we're interested in these guys were involved in a club, I guess you'd call it, an organization called Tiger 21, and also involved in YPO, and I've just been naturally friends. So we're interested in digging in today about some Jewish traditions, Jewish service, Christian service, and kind of take it from there.
Don, you failed to mention that the three of you hang out together, but that's purposeful, trying to stay away from me. So I appreciate the fact that this audience now can engage with me, along with hearing you three talk about how all these collisions have created beautiful things in our city. So
yeah, you're part of the club now, so you're okay.
Thank you. So with that, David and Todd, don't know who wants to go first, but introduce yourselves, where your background, and how you guys came to be friends.
Yeah. So David Morgan, grew up in Indianapolis, went to Park Tudor, then went to Vanderbilt and IU, and got my MBA at Dartmouth, and also went to seminary at Dallas Seminary. So that's the education background. Our family had a home building company for many years that built a number of houses around Indiana and the Carolinas. And I most recently have been leading a home health care company for the last 15 years. So we provide care for the elderly in their homes called Senior Home Companions. And then we do a little bit of boutique memory care called Story Cottage, where we help a handful of residents who have memory loss. Three boys, as Don referenced, two in college and one in high school, and been married to Sarah for going on 26 years now. So,
wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. When were you married? What?
We were in 2000,
Yeah.
right after undergrad. So.
Yeah. It wasn't right after undergrad for me in 2000, but I was also married in 2000. It was a little bit later in my career.
That's good.
Yeah. So Todd Maurer went to Carmel High School, went to University of Texas in Austin, Texas, which I used to be very proud of their football program, but then I went to Indiana University in Bloomington for law school. I'm much more behind their football program now.
There you go.
And that is the extent of my in-school education. I started a real estate company in May of 2000. I have three daughters. My oldest daughter is a teacher, a first grade teacher at Allisonville Elementary School. She's doing incredible work, like making a difference in people's lives. And it's so much fun to see that. And I think that's kind of maybe a theme of what we're going to be talking about today, is making a difference in people's lives. My middle daughter just graduated University of Colorado, and my youngest daughter just finished her freshman year at University of Colorado. So I have some other part-time jobs of recent, as I'm currently the interim CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis. Some people say condolences. Some people say congratulations. I think it's very rewarding work.
I hear the snowpack wasn't too good out in Colorado this year. What's your experience there, Tom?
Well, I think David and I can both tell you it was pretty much non-existent.
Yes.
If you had the fortunate time to be out there immediately after one of the three storms they got, you had a couple good days, but for whatever reason, it's was pretty warm this winter out west.
But still, your daughters are hanging in there. And
Well, part of
praying
going to
for
University of Colorado is the ability to get to a mountain, but also part of it is to be at a university, a beautiful area.
yes.
And I think kids in college find a way to have fun, whether it's snowing or not.
There you go.
It's one of the coolest things about, there are a lot of cool things about Todd, but his girls are pretty exceptional. And we were at this big event with Jim Collins. He'd come and spoke at the Palladium. It was a packed out crowd. And his daughter got up and asked him a question and engaged with him and then asked him for an internship. It was
That's great.
Yes,
in front of all these people. So,
That's so good. And Jim obviously had to say yes.
Yeah,
he did. He
There
wanted
was nowhere to
Yeah.
hide.
Well, and she just graduated college and she's looking for a job in Chicago in marketing or data analytics. Anyone out there has a job for her.
That's a great story. Well, how about tell us a little bit about how you guys connected and what that has led to as far as your friendship?
Yeah. So Todd and I think originally connected kind of through YPOs. Actually, before that, it was CP Morgan. We were looking for land stuff, and I had a couple breakfasts and lunches with Todd.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, we had some land on the south side that we needed to get rid of, and I had no idea what to do with it. And so I met with Todd, and he came up with a plan and helped me rest assured that we could find something productive to do with this land, a little parcel that wasn't part of a development we were doing. So I think that was kind of the first interaction.
Yeah, and we just stayed connected over the years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and both ended up in YPO and still stayed connected. And that was, when you find good people, good-hearted people, you want to stay connected with them.
Yeah.
And I think then we recently, a couple of years ago, reconnected and we're like, your kids, Don, your kids start getting busy and they devour all your free time as they should. And you kind of sometimes lose connection with good people. So we reconnected and it's really good to do that.
Yeah.
And search out those people you used to have more time with.
Yeah. I think what's awesome about Todd is, you meet with a lot of people, obviously just part of networking, connecting with different people. But I always come away after talking to Todd feeling like he genuinely cares about me. He really asks good questions and we're not just trying to get a deal done. He actually is accretive to life and has this broader perspective to him. And I think it shows in the way he spends his time too. He just is really wanting to foster relationships and connectivity. So.
David, can you just follow me around everywhere I go?
I can, Todd.
That was really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We slipped him a Benjamin here. So it sounds like even apart from Tiger 21, you guys have a mutual affection and similar aspirations for each other. So that engine brought you together, but it sounds like things have evolved from just being in a club together.
Yeah, I don't think Tiger 21 is our connection at all. I would even connect us that way because we were connected so far before that,
right,
and drawn to each other.
Yeah.
I think that maybe just been a continuation of
That's good.
shared values and just this mindset of connect with good people, make sure that your friends are good people.
Yeah. We had the blessing of helping Todd's grandma too with home care for many years.
Yes.
And so when his dad would call, our office would freak out in a good way. So who's going to take this call? But it was a blessing to just to get to know your family a little bit better. And your dad was so attentive in the oversight for his mom's care and just it was a great sharing of responsibilities and just leaning in to help.
Well, there was a concern. They didn't know which direction to go when we were talking about it. I said, I know that this is a lot of years ago. Maybe this might have been a decade or more ago.
That was a long time ago.
And I said, let's call David. I didn't say let's call. I should, you call him.
Right.
And they did. And I think my mom and dad both called and that everything was perfect from then on.
Good.
So,
yeah. Well, it's not always perfect.
Their anxiety went down because they knew they could trust you and your team to take care of my grandmother.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is that peace of mind. I feel like we're often serving the families. I mean, obviously we're caring really well for the elderly client that we're helping, but it's a lot about helping these families have that alleviated and have that peace of mind and to know that their loved one is thriving.
Yeah. Well, mission accomplished.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So
I'll have you come around. Thank you.
We're talking a lot about being of genuine value to friends and to caring for family and friends. Who, for each one of you, shaped your character, and what specific things are you trying to pass on to others based on that?
Yeah.
I think that's actually, it sounds like an easy question, but I think it's really a tough question. Probably typical of Don's questions.
I know, right?
Yeah. You want to take a shot at it? Or you want me to?
I mean, I definitely think I was shaped a lot by my parents. So seeing them start a company and just their value of They started with the first value of honor God in all we do. And they tried to like really live that with the culture that they created and the practices that they put in place, and tried to invest in creating a company that didn't just, create a job, but actually created like a life worth living. My dad would always say, like, we don't just want to create jobs. We want to create lives worth living, because you spend so much time like impacting others through your work. And so I think that was a huge like hallmark, is how are we impacting people beyond just the occupation that they're providing.
Can you tell us a little bit about your dad's company and how?
Yeah. So I remember when I was a kid, they were laying out for the first project. They were laying out the colors on a dining room table. It was debating between hunter gold and burgundy, and hunter gold and or hunter green and gold, and then burgundy and gold. So it was a big debate on those two colors. And walking the first like farm with my dad as he tried to develop it. The first project was like 116th and Keystone, called the Maples of Carmel, which is like a little condo place now. But yeah, it was fun just to see dad kind of pour his heart and soul into it, and mom got involved and create a lot of the culture and vibrancy of the company. And then just to see them kind of scale a company from 2 employees to over 600 when they finished it, and we built about 26,000 houses in Indiana and the Carolinas, and all with just an incredible focus on giving back and impacting others. So it was my dad was always wanting to differentiate in a home building. Sometimes it's a bad experience, like it can be problematic. You can miss expectations. And so being able to deliver consistency and predictability and just follow through on what they said they were going to do was really differentiated the company. So, yeah.
That's beautiful, David. Todd?
Yeah, I would say
Similar.
that my parents are a strong influence in my life. And there were other people along the way too, and different professors, 1 or 2 of those. But my parents always took the approach, probably sounds very similar, David, to your parents, is that without the community, we don't exist. Any of our success is due to a community around us. And so my parents felt very important to give back both their time and their treasure back to the community. And they set that example that I was able to witness. Not sure. I think my parents were both smart enough not to take on the role of an interim CEO and not get paid to do it. But they're very supportive of me doing it in all seriousness. And I find that I think I'm doing it because of the example they set in giving back to the community and giving back to the community without anything expected in return. And I find it extremely rewarding work, and I'm so thrilled that I'm able to do it.
So it sounds like you both speak to your mother and your father.
Mm-hmm.
Was your mother involved in the enterprises, or what did she bring different than your father?
Oh, each person's a little different. My mom was not involved in the operation of the business, but she was involved in the empathy side of raising us and reinforcing good lessons and good experiences. She grew up in New York. It's a lot different growing up where she grew up and when she grew up in New York versus how I grew up in Indianapolis. I had a much more affluent household than she did. And I think that brings a lot of thought and intention of doing well for others. And so I got a lot of that from both of my parents.
Yeah, and I would say people like my dad passed away a number of years ago, and I was reflecting with somebody just kind of this last year, like, what do you remember my dad? And they said, you know what, like I never had a boss who challenged me more than your dad. Like I was constantly on the edge. I was constantly learning because he was always pushing for growth and vision. And so I think people love the challenge that my dad would bring to them. There was always just some new endeavor or something that he was tackling. But I think they stayed working for my dad because they loved my mom, because she was this great personality, and she'd do, discussion groups, and she'd host them at events, and she was just very endearing. And so I think it was a great combination. She didn't actually run anything in the business, but she was just creating events and creating culture a lot. So yeah, it was impactful.
What are the upsides and downsides of having famous fathers?
Well, I don't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd, your father's way more famous than mine, so you need to start with this question.
I'm going to start with the downside. Everybody thinks whatever you've done or whatever you're doing or whatever company you're running, it's your father's. So that, your father's your partner. No, we work together on project. No, he's not really. And then I had a actual partner in the business at the time that said, Todd, stop worrying about that. If people think he's your partner or our partner, and we get business because of it, let them think that. It's okay. We know that we're doing the work.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think, that's a shadow is sometimes difficult, but you build confidence and just know that you're doing the right things in the way you're doing it, and clearly shaped by your parents and your parents' shadows. And for me, the pro is way outweighs that. It's the only con I could really think of. And you get introductions to people. Someone might take your call. No one's giving you anything because of your parents, but they might listen to you for a moment longer. But you get to see success, and you get to see how our parents treat their employees and their other business associates. And that's a great, great gift to be able to see a successful business person operate and know that you can ask any question you want and get the honest answer. Because they only want you to succeed. So I would take the famous parent anytime.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, nobody does give you anything, but the introductions are super helpful. My first job, was graduating from college, I told my dad, I don't want any connections. I'm going to do this all on my own. And so I literally didn't tell him, and it must have crushed him. I didn't tell him who I was interviewing with, didn't tell him locations, and landed a job selling technology in Chicago. 100 cold calls a day, like no special privileges. And I remember thinking, why in the world did I not just talk to a couple buddies my dad knew? Like, what was I thinking? But he was so supportive. And so realizing that, you feel this strong sense when you have a successful father to be independent, and you also feel like a pressure to be successful. And so you live with this tension of like, I have to make my own name in the world. But at the same time, I want to honor the legacy of what he's created, and I want to like build on that. And so you go through life with this interesting balance. And so I think threading the needle correctly is not always easy to do, but families who do it it's awesome, because you can just, I like the analogy of standing on your dad's shoulders, right? You can see a little bit further, and he can help you have perspective that you would have never had otherwise.
I think it evolves over time too. Look where we both went to undergrad.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't go to IU undergrad.
Right.
We both went away.
Yeah.
And that's part of creating your own independence and your own person.
Yep.
And then coming back and then being able to deal with that big shadow.
Right. Yep.
We've seen some folks crumble under that family pressure. What has kept you guys in this beautiful story you're living in, where it hasn't crushed you, but you viewed that privilege as a gift, and you've taken it from there? Any secrets you can share?
Well, I think my dad would tell you his favorite secret is he told his children from day one, you get nothing from me. If you want anything, you got to go out and earn it.
Yeah.
And in the back of our heads, we knew there would always be a safety net. We were never going to be sleeping on the street, but anything we wanted, we'd have to go out and build and earn.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a gift as well, because there's something fantastic about creating something and earning it on your own. But it's okay to have those connections that David was talking about. It's okay to be able to see a little bit further because you're on your father's shoulders a little bit.
Right.
But also being able to build it on your own is very rewarding.
That's beautiful, Todd.
Yeah, I think my dad was a lifelong learner, as I said, and so he was keenly aware of his strengths and his shortcomings. And so when I was about in junior high, he realized that he had a great business knack, but maybe sometimes didn't get all of the relational component of life. And so he brought in a great Christian psychologist from California who's been a part of our family for years now. And so we started doing family meetings with a regular cadence and just having a lot of communication around topics. And so we've been doing them now for like 30 years and have touch points in between. And I think that's been game changing. A lot of the families that I see that don't succeed, they just don't talk. And so there are all these difficult situations or topics that aren't comfortable to talk around the Thanksgiving table, and then they just never get addressed. So simply creating a space that's safe to like talk about things and work through things seems to have been a fundamental thing that my dad started.
Well, and hopefully we each continue that importance of communication with our children.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's transition a little to Todd, your Jewish faith. You're chairing the Greater Indianapolis Jewish Federation at pro bono. So you need an agent,
Yes, I do. Yes.
Negotiate that deal a little. But tell us a little about how your Jewish faith affects your habits, rituals. I have a nephew that does Sabbat dinners every every Friday. But just tell us a little about how that affects the way you raise your kids and just what a regular week looks like for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing as a regular week anymore, but happy to discuss that.
Yeah, sure.
I was actually the volunteer board chair of the organization, and our CEO resigned. He was having more grandkids in Chicago and wanted to be closer to home. And my co-board chair, which was a first for this organization in a long time, suggested I become the interim CEO. And I was hesitant to do it. But one of the tenets of Judaism is called tikkun olam. It's repairing the world. And it's a gift. And that's not exclusive to Judaism by any means, but it's part of our basic tenet. And the other is community. And in Judaism, you cannot pray by yourself. You have to have a minyan, which is at least 10 people. It felt very natural for me to be the interim CEO to allow the organization to continue to move forward. I can help, quote, repair the world. We don't take that literally, and bring community together. And I think I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this full-time job, which I thought was going to be more of a part-time job. It turns out it's more of a full-time job because there's so much going on and there's so many good people. But I couldn't do it without an incredible staff and people who work, as you know, in the not-for-profit world, in the faith world. They don't do it for their paycheck. They get paid, but they can go get paid a lot more somewhere else. So it's very rewarding to see all these people who work at the Jewish Federation, and they're not all Jewish, who are doing it for the mission of helping other people. So that's the basics of what we're doing, is helping people. We have a food, we can get into that more, but we help people and we engage people. And I feel so rewarded doing that. And I figured out why I feel rewarded, or how I measure that reward, is that I'm choosing to go to an office where I get paid nothing. Actually, probably cost me money because I also a contributor. It costs me money to go there versus my real estate office where I don't go as often. Fortunately, I have some very strong people running that organization, but I'm choosing the path where all I get is a gift to the heart. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of what Judaism teaches you is giving back to others. And it goes back to what Dave and I were talking about, our parents of supporting, helping people have a good life, right? Helping other people.
We hear about entitled kids. I'm always fearful that my adult kids, that I entitled them. What practices, what education, what happens to blunt that entitlement in the Jewish faith?
Well, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question completely. I think an entitled child is the fault of the parent, not of the child. And you can have 5, 6 children in a family, and some are entitled and some are not. It's how you engage with them. The way I was raised was you go out and you do it. You're not getting anything from us. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't get to go on nice vacations, and it's a wonderful life. I wasn't living, on the street. My parents treated us to wonderful things, but not the excess. And so the approach I take with my children is, I have a teacher. My teacher is one of the most ambitious, hardest working people I know.
Yeah.
She will never, in that job, make millions of dollars. She will never, no one will look at her and go, that's a business success. But it doesn't mean she's not working hard and she's not ambitious. And I think the key there is that I could do for her, help her, without taking away her ambition. And I think entitlement comes when there's a lack of ambition or drive, and I'm owed this. And I think that's a lot to do with individual parents. So you can say, you can have a number of Jewish families and you can have entitled kids and not entitled kids. And the same thing with Christian families.
Well,
so I think faith maybe sets you in a certain direction, but parenting as if you are a parent, not their child's best friend, helps prevent the entitlement. And I don't have the answer to that. So I'm interested. David probably has a better answer than that.
I don't know about that. I feel like Don, you need to answer that question.
What is going on?
But no, I think that one of the keys that it stems from certainly our faith is this idea of like serving others. And so even if it's not like in a formal way, it's just what's your kid's heart attitude when it comes to like service and helping people. And so we try to like instill that. I mean, obviously, we have a very present opportunity with the elderly in these story cottages. And so I'll take my kids there and they'll serve and do an activity and hang out. And after they have been there, they come away with this realization of, wow, like I can remember my name. I can remember what I just did. And not everybody in the world can do that. And so it's like a quick reorientation to like what matters in life and how you can keep perspective. And so I think service is so huge. And then I think the second thing is like sharing. So we try to like, invite their friends in. My family modeled this really well. We actually have one of my son's friends living with us for the whole summer. And so he is part of the family for the summer. And because I think that loosens your grip on things. If you share things, Don, you model this so well with like lemon retreats and everything else, just to invite others into your space. And then it becomes something that's, you're just stewarding instead of your thing that you're trying to hold on to too tightly. So
As friends, what opportunities have there been for you to learn from each other around your faith?
Yep.
And what can that help our audience sort of think about how we build relationships between the Jewish community, the Christian community, and beyond? Any particulars there that you might share with us?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things Todd does well is when I'm in business groups with him, he's pushing for this like intentionality and depth of sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it by sharing pretty vulnerably himself too. And so he invites others into that conversation and it creates like a connectivity. A lot of times after we'll be at a meeting, there's this follow-up that happens with something that resonated with one guy or another person there. And so there's this sense of like kind of the shared experience and it crosses like, it can be difficult things that someone's facing and it crosses any faith lines. And, we're all just seeking God's help in that situation. And so it's been cool to see his leadership in facilitating connectivity.
Thank you. I agree with David that our faith, our intention drive us to connect with each other, to help each other, and know that as friends, if let's just say it's been 6 months and we haven't sat down and had coffee together or caught up for whatever reason, that if David calls me, I know that I'm going to answer that phone call and I'll do what he needs. And I feel the same way. I call David, he's going to answer that call and say, all right, how can I help you? What do you need? And that's part of David's character and his faith drives that character. And I'm very well aware of that. I think it's a generous faith and character that he has that helps people. And that's part of what a good friend is someone that will help you with nothing in return. So I always say the best friend you can have is someone that doesn't need anything in return from you. And you can give them something and you don't need anything back. And it's not a transactional, it's relationship driven.
With respect to your interim CEO position, your mission to bring the community together, what objectives, what hills do you want to climb and come alongside and be a part of what you're seeking to achieve with your community?
Oh, that was a great question. And we're working on a lot of different things in our community. And one of the tenets of the Jewish community and the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis is connecting with other faith groups and building alliances. There's a lot, Jews represent about 2% of the population, and over 50% of hate speech is directed at Jews. So we are on the receiving end of a lot of hate right now. And sometimes it's nice just to have a friend to check in. How are you doing? I have a good friend. His name's Matt Fry. He just texts me periodically and says, just check in, make sure you're okay. He's not Jewish, but he's a good friend. It just does that. He's not the only person that does that, but sometimes people need that. Just, I'm on your side. Let me know how I can help you. And I think that's important. There's a lot going on in this world that's very complex. And I would ask people to take the time to understand the complexities, not just compare something simple. The Middle East conflict is the most complex conflict of our time. We cannot compare it to to segregation in South Africa to racism in America. It's way different and way more complex than that. And so I'd ask that people just listen and take the time to understand the complexities of an issue. And for that matter, on every other issue facing our country right now, like they're not simple issues. They don't fit in a quick meme or TikTok.
So in a perfect world, let's say that we had greater understanding or people took the time. What would that look like? What kind of community forum would that be? Bourbon and cigars, would that be? And what would be 2 questions that would be thrown on the table to say, wow, I sure didn't know that.
Yeah, let me maybe back up to answer that question, Don.
Yeah.
My 3 daughters went to Brebeuf. My 3 Jewish daughters went to Brebeuf Jesuit school, and they learned a lot about Catholicism and other religions as well. And I posit that it's hard to hate other people when you learn about their faith because the crossover is 99.9%. Yeah. In our lessons, our morals, the way we live our lives, it's so similar. And so learning about each other is one, but how can you do that? And sometimes it's as simple as having a podcast or having a drink together. The Jewish Federation is bringing in a speaker on September 1st, which is open to the general community. I'm happy to bring anyone who would like to go. They're bringing in Rachel Goldberg-Poland. That might not mean a lot to you, but Rachel and her husband, Jonathan, originally from Chicago, moved to Israel with their son, Hirsch Goldberg-Poland. Hirsch was at a music festival on October 7th and was abducted. He was tortured. His arm was cut off. He made videos that were sent to his parents where he was told that he was coming home, and he came home in a body bag. And so his parents were mentally tortured. He was physically tortured and killed. And Rachel and her husband, Jonathan, are going to speak in Indianapolis on September 1st. And it's open to the greater community. To understand a parent's perspective on what they went through puts the conflict in a whole different parameter, like a whole different perspective. To understand it from a parent's perspective, we're all parents, or most of us are fortunate enough to be parents. And to see it that way is a different understanding. So I'd say, it's going to be hard. It's a very difficult situation to hear about. Experience that, like allow some vulnerability in your own life and some pain in your own life to understand somebody else.
Well, we'd love to publicize that. This is the first I've heard of it. That's beautiful. And we'll make sure it gets in the show notes and beyond.
Yeah, I have a flyer. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please. David, any response
to
that?
So I think one of the great kind of cross-functional ways is I think about, we're involved Traders Point, and they have a men's night, which is amazing. And they bring climbing walls, and they brought a guy who tamed a horse last year, a wild stallion. And so I think like we're all struggling. I mean, it was amazing to me to see just a packed out auditorium of guys who want to be better fathers. They want to be better leaders. They want to be more consistent in their own faith life. And a lot of people weren't from Traders Point. They just heard about this cool men's night and wanted more community with other guys, and they showed up at this awesome event. And so I think, there are so many common themes that we're all trying to do together with a great heart orientation, so we can align on those topics.
Is that the Traders Point Church up in Whitestown?
Yeah.
So that's another way Dave and I are now connected, because that Traders Point Church is on property that was owned by my grandfather and great uncle.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Rex Incorporated.
That's right.
I ride my bike all the time past the wrecks, and I was always thinking, man, how beautiful this is for this place. I'm a wreck myself. So when I saw this is so cool out here on this beautiful property. You have a car sitting up top there, 30 feet up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then you have this wonderful church that's touching so many lives and making a difference and helping people be better people and better parents and better fathers and better men for others. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
Don, you're over. What's your sense being in the community about how Christians and Jews and others are or are not in Indianapolis doing well, maybe compared to other places? Is this a good place to start to be a model for the country as to how we can live and be together, not just coexist, but to really appreciate and love one another?
Yeah, I think there's several friends I have that are Jewish, and a lot of times I have been remiss in not just drilling down. Like, this is the first time I don't even met Marv Reck, but he's an amazing guy, Jewish guy. He's 90 years old, was 25 years at Butler, 25 years in charge of worldwide HR for General Motors, and very devout Jew, goes to, I think, that temple there on 116th by University High School.
Sherry Tabila.
But, we were having coffee, and he goes to a minyan, at 90 years old. And I didn't know that, Jews can't pray individually, that they pray community. In other words, to me, asking friends, John Ackerman is a good friend. I didn't know anything about a spot. I didn't know anything about a lot of things. But so to me, being willing to say I know so little, and to realize that we have the same God, we have the Old Testament that we all and looking for common ground.
Mhm.
So looking for ways that we are brothers and sisters, not, well, you're this and I'm that. Well, yes, but we're to love each other, right? We're called to love each other.
It's so much easier to be kind and love each other than it
Mhm.
is to hate each other. It takes
Right.
so much extra energy to hate somebody than it is to love somebody.
So how about hospitality in the Jewish, I think a lot of times Jewish weddings are incredible, right? But hospitality seems to be an important tenet of Jewish faith.
Yeah, there's a variety of different Jewish foods, and the joke is that we have the rite, and then we eat. And there's a Sephardic Jew, which is more of a Spanish influence, has a whole set of food, which is my wife's side of the family, and then the Ashkenazi Jew has a different Eastern European type of food. So think of the two different areas, but I think it's why my wife was so happy to have so much family at our house, and she was feeding them all weekend and cooking for them. And I'm like, great. Like, this is so exciting. It's part of bringing people together. And I don't think that is exclusive to the Jewish religion. But it's how you bring people together and celebrate together and take care of each other. When someone dies in the Jewish faith, we quickly have a funeral for them. It's normally within a day or two, because that's when the mourning process can start. But immediately following that funeral and that burial is a Shiva period, and that's the period of mourning. And what happens? You have your funeral at noon, and by 2:30 you're back at your home, and your loved one's been buried. Well, people start showing up, and they just keep flowing for days to comfort you. And so there's that immediate time after the passing of a loved one. There are people there coming to visit. And part of that comforting is the bereaved comforting their friends and family coming over too. So it's that shared time, but the hospitality is not by the family of the deceased. It's by all the friends and family who have arranged for all the food so that the mourning family doesn't have to worry about eating. The food's just there. And I think that's one aspect of Jewish hospitality.
Did you call it, is it called sitting Shiva? I don't know.
Yeah, you sit Shiva. Yeah, that's right.
It's an amazing concept. I really like Brene Brown's work on like empathy versus sympathy. And one of the things she says is like, you don't want somebody just to like say like, I can relate to you or how's it going? You want somebody just to sit down with you and not make it better, but just like be with you, like walk through the journey together. So
that's right.
We help we helped a number of Jewish clients, but one Jewish client in particular that we helped, her friends had arranged for, I'm not exaggerating, for 4 years, 5 days a week, there was a lady taking this woman to lunch. And it was just through the Jewish community and her friendships over a year, and without fail for all those years, like she had a lunch date, and it was such a relief to her husband to like have that support and connectivity. It was pretty amazing to see.
But what's preached, what's taught, that, because it seems like that's being handed down through the generations of, hey, this is what it means to be a Jew. This is what it means to be a neighbor. How is that done?
Yeah, there are no stories about that in the Torah, about how to take care of your neighbor when their spouse dies, or it's just it's part of giving back to that community and repairing the world is helping someone out. And their world has crumbled. So we're repairing that mini world at that point, and continuing to function the greater community. And repairing the world is not just within the Jewish community. It's being engaged in the overall community in which you live in and helping other people as well, not just one small aspect of it.
David, with that, as a Christian, and people now are lamenting how the next generation is leaving the church, especially the large mega churches, whatnot. What have you learned from Todd and the Jewish community that you've maybe have appropriated or seen that would allow Christians to say, how do we allow our faith to be passed down from generation to generation? Then Todd, like you to respond to David's, just sort of either saying, no, that's not right, or to maybe give us some more, because I'd like to learn from you. And so give me your thoughts first, David.
Maybe we should bring a rabbi in here to respond.
I know. I don't know where qualified answers this question.
Yeah, what do you think, though? Just your impressions there.
Well, I think there's a book by Andrew Wren called Life in the Negative World, and he talks a lot about like different traditions of faith. And he says one of the ways that really Christians have failed is by not creating a strong enough sense of community. He references the Jewish faith and even Catholicism. He's talking about mainstream evangelicalism. And he's like, the problem is we kind of go our own way, and we're not central in our locality in the way that we commune with each other. And so that's really one of the big things about Trader's Point is, we try to set up a location that's less than a 10-minute drive for everybody in Indianapolis so that you can worship with people that you're actually going to see at the grocery store and you'll see when you take a run. And so creating this like connectivity, which I think the Jewish faith does well too. It's often people who are kind of close to you in a concentric circle. So I think that's one thing that I've observed and that his work kind of put us onto is just like, how do you create this smaller concentric circles? And you're part of the broader church as well, but you're also more connected locally. So
right, that's good.
Yeah, I think maybe I put an addendum on the original question is that I think it's not just churches that are losing young members or not gaining young members more appropriately, but synagogues as well. I think there was a study out somewhere in the early 2000s about the decrease in membership of organized religion. And I don't think that means that people don't care about their religion. I think they want to engage in it differently. And as in my role at the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis, I'm finding that being a member of the synagogue is just one way to engage. My grandparents in their generation, that was their primary way of engagement. My children's primary way of engagement is not just joining a synagogue. While they come to synagogue with us, it's getting their hands dirty and helping other people, like physically doing something. And United Way saw this develop over the last 20 or 30 years too. There was a generation that was happy to write a check and say, all right, I've contributed. And then it got to be that the next two generations later said, we'll give you the check, but we want to do something. Like, we don't just want to give you money. We want to get active. And so I think that's changing in religion. And I think if religion, whether it's Judaism or Christianity or any other religion, doesn't adapt to its customer base, and give them what they are looking for, then they will lose them. But if an organization adjusts, if Trader's Point adjusts and brings in interesting speakers and someone that tamed a wild horse and someone like, wow, that's incredible. And it brings people in. That's okay. Because the end goal is they're bringing people together and creating a community. How they get there has to be different based on each generation.
So say more about engaging differently. What other ideas do you have to do that, to attract more members, to retain your youth?
Yeah. So I am a past president of my synagogue, Beth El Zedek, but I will really speak better as the interim CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis. And that's engaging a larger group of people, the whole community, everybody, no matter if you're an Orthodox or Reformed Jew or anywhere in between. And what we do is we have a next generation program of young people straight out of college type, early 20s. They like to get together for happy hour and do things of that nature. We have a leadership group for people in their, I'd say mid 30s to mid 40s. It's a little bit more intellectual. It's a little bit more engaging.
Now, is that subsidized by you guys? Are you sponsor?
Yeah, these are all part of our, we raise an annual campaign, always accepting donations to fund these kinds of programs. my wife and I actually started a program a couple years ago, and we call it Koach, and Koach in Hebrew means strength. And we teach people, a group, 15 people, each cohort, and they're in their 20s and 30s, about anti-Semitism, hate, and the Holocaust. Because the Holocaust is, Jews don't own the Holocaust solely. There are a number of other people that were murdered in the Holocaust. The gay community was murdered. The gypsy community. There are a lot of different people that
including some Christians as well.
Christians, absolutely, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we teach about that, and then we cap that off with a trip to Krakow, Poland, which is where probably the most disgusting concentration camps were, Auschwitz and Birkenau, and we tour those, and it's important to see that it's engineered hate and engineered killing. It's and it was killing, as we point out, directed at lots of different people. The Jews were not the only ones killed in Auschwitz. They were the most, but there were plenty of other Christians, gypsies, gays, all sorts of other people, other beliefs that the Germans didn't like that were killed there. And I think it's important to learn about hate, not from a victim perspective, but that there are bad actors in this world, and you have to recognize that, and that will hopefully strengthen your good. But these are just one way we're building community. People come back from these experiences and then engage in other organizations in the Jewish community and outside the Jewish community, because they feel empowered now to the importance of connecting and helping other people.
Do you have individual mentoring, or is it mostly in these? And are you the exception to doing that? Or are there other people that would have other kind of purposeful groups?
No. So our other program for the older groups called Atid, and that in Hebrew means forward, or moving forward in leadership. And we have different volunteers that lead that group. Each cohort, now have done 6 cohorts of that in the last 12 or 14 years. And because it's an 18-month long program, there are a lot of different people. One person cannot by themselves make the difference, right? It takes there's a lot of wonderful volunteers in our Jewish community who are doing a lot of great things in the Jewish community and volunteering in a lot of other places, at the zoo, at the Children's Museum, at Christamore. It doesn't have to be Jewish to be a good place to volunteer. And I encourage people in our Jewish community to volunteer throughout Indianapolis at non-Jewish organizations. Not necessarily that they have to be other faith-based, but just they don't have to be Jewish-based, because it's important to give back to everybody. Yeah. But it takes a lot of people to make things happen in any community.
David, were you an exemplary student of Hebrew at seminary?
No, I was not. I was not. I was a little better at Greek, but
okay. But is there a Hebrew word maybe for both of you that should resonate with me, like I can hang on to as something that has said?
Have one.
Okay, and then David, I want to get
David.
For David.
Yeah,
go for it, Todd.
Word for David.
Okay.
There's a term we use for someone who does good things for the sake of doing good things.
Okay. Not
for having anything in return. And it's that person that just shows up when you need them and just is out there to help other people. And the term is mensch. So the mensch, to be called a mensch, in my mind, is the ultimate compliment.
Right? That's beautiful.
And so to give you an idea of what the ultimate mitzvah, which is a good deed you can do, to kind of tie this all back together, would be to attend someone's funeral. Because it's one of the very few things you can do that can never be repaid. If I go to your funeral, you can't come to mine, right? And so that's the ultimate mitzvah. And the mensch is the person that goes to people's funerals, that does things to help other people. And as we've heard from David and what he's doing, well, we haven't really heard it all because he's too humble to tell us all the things he's doing. But I have insight into what David's done. So I know he's doing way more than he's telling us about. And that's what we call a mensch.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
How about an English word for Todd then, if there's no Hebrew word that?
Annoying, irritating.
English word. I mean, I was thinking of Hesed love. Like God's love is described as Hesed, which means like, I don't know if that's Hebrew or Greek, but it means consistent and faithful and just present. And I was thinking about just that as an adjective. So
right. That's Hebrew, isn't it, Todd?
Yeah.
Hebrew,
yeah.
Hesed love. Yeah. You told me how to come up with a Hebrew word. There it is. Great.
No, I love it. I love both those. Well,
so I think I could be wrong, But I think of many of my Jewish friends, and when one of them is unemployed, it seems as if the Jewish community comes along, and it seems as if great employment, or is that something that's unspoken? Is that part of the repairing the, or maybe I'm
No,
a misnomer. I mean,
I think there will be people in the community that will go out of their way to help other people and help them find a job. I don't know if that's universal, but I will tell you that as part of our federation, we have an organization called Jewish Family Services. It's a food pantry and counseling services and many other aspects. And it's located on Hoover Road, but it's open to everybody. So if you walk in and you say, I am a devout Muslim, I need food. Let's say, come on over here. What do you need? How can we help you? So does not matter what your religion is. This organization will help you if you need help. And it's fully funded. I would say fully is a little bit of an extreme word, but 99% funded by the Jewish community in our annual campaign, but it helps everybody. And I think that's important. I think you can't be a functioning person and not be willing to help anyone that needs help. I think you have to help everyone who needs help if you have that ability and that opportunity.
And Todd, your family's been here for many generations. Is Indianapolis a place where the Jewish community can flourish and continues to flourish? And we should welcome others to say, Indy's a place where me and my family and my community can grow and flourish.
Well, I don't think the Indianapolis Jewish community will ever rival the size of New York or Chicago or LA. It's a smaller Jewish community, but it's a place where we are seeing people come to Indianapolis for new jobs and become engaged in the Jewish community, people we've never heard of because they didn't grow up here and they love their experience. As a matter of fact, I just recently made a hire at the Federation of a young lady who lives in South Florida and had volunteered and done some marketing work for the Indianapolis 500 for a couple years and was looking for a job. And she wanted to move to Indianapolis to be part of the Jewish community and work there. And her mother said, well, you can only come if you have a job first. I'm not letting you move to Indianapolis without a job. So Indianapolis is still attracting people, and maybe our Jewish community helps people find a place to be a community.
Right on.
More about the work that you do every day.
Yeah.
You have the food pantry, but what are some of the other services that the Federation does locally?
We have a Jewish community center, which has been in this location on Hoover Road for almost 75 years. 80% of its membership is not Jewish, which is a testament to what an organization does when they serve a neighborhood or a community. The community is open to everybody.
Great water aerobics classes I hear from our client.
Aerobics
class. You can't miss them. Good.
Well, then, connecting to David's organization and David's work, we have Hooverwood, which is a senior living facility, a live-in facility, and people will go there for rehab and then maybe go back home and hire David's team to help take care of them when they move back into their home, or to assist them while they're at the home. And they do those water aerobics classes. So your clients are doing that, and that's important for the community. We have a wonderful CEO that runs that JCC. We also have a Hebrew Day School. I mentioned the senior living program and Jewish Family Services. We have a great team of executives who don't report to me, but we work together to better the whole community. And that's just part of my job as the CEO is to look at strategy, how I can help more people. Right? So everyone says, someone used to say that the Jewish Federation is like the Jewish United Way. They raise money and hand it out. I said, that's not what we do anymore. And that's someone who used to say that was me. But now I'm in this role and I know we don't do that. We help people and we engage people. We raise more money so we can help more people, engage more people. And I think that's the proper way to look at the Jewish community, the Federation, and many other organizations in our town that are doing great work. I would say, I'm sure David's involved, or Don, you're involved in organizations in the Christian world that do similar things, that just want to help more people. And so they will fundraise from their friends or from their community so they can impact more lives.
David, anything that you want to share as we close things out? And then Todd, what vision, based on your own personal passion and friendship, would you like to cast with the Citizen 7 audience around what God is doing in our city and some things that personally are of interest to you that we could follow you in possibly?
Yeah, I would just say that like there's a limited window, right? Like our days are numbered. And so like if you feel a calling to get involved with faith, like just do something about it. Like just don't sit on the sidelines. A lot of times you get busy. I was talking to some buddies last week and they're like, we just can't get to church. Like we have baseball and it's so chaotic. I'm like, well, do like a little daily devotional. Like just like your Jesus Calling for Kids is great. Or do this other one I recommended. Like just have some spiritual contact. We just picked our kids up from Kanakuk last week. And he said, look, there are two things that you can do to really invest in your family and the community. Number one is to love your spouse really well. And number two, just have a spiritual touch point of some kind every day with your kids, whether it's a prayer or a thought or something. I thought those were pretty powerful. Love your spouse well and just have a spiritual touch point daily.
I agree with David. I think it's very important. One of the ways I end all my meetings, all my staff meetings, and all of my Tiger 21 meetings is taking a moment to say something you're grateful for. And I think that could be your mini devotion of what are you grateful for today? Like finding that good in that day, not, oh, I'm grateful that my wife loves me. That could be a great thing, but like something like that's touching you that moment. Like hopefully your spouse loves you more than just this moment, right? But it's something you're grateful for. And I think goes right to what you're saying. I mean, I see that as that daily devotional.
Yeah.
It's a good
Circling
word.
back to, you made a comment about you guys becoming friends because you had a reasonable level of vulnerability. And a lot of people that I talk to, coffees and lunches, and a lot of people are telling me that they just don't have that many friends. Just, they've got plenty of acquaintances, golf buddy, but in terms of folk, what hints or what tips would you give somebody if they wanted to be more authentic or vulnerable with their current folk or whatever? How a lot of people don't have forum experience, don't have some of the things. What would you share with them? Some tips to be more authentic or vulnerable?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. One is it's often helpful to get people's mindset in the right perspective before you get together. And so, Don, we were just talking about like shooting out like a thought or a question in advance of it, because you can help people, especially who aren't used to it, like go a little bit deeper if they have some time to like think about it.
Okay.
And so just being intentional on that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And just being genuine. Don't try to impress other people. True friends don't care what watch you're wearing, what brand of shoes you're wearing, what car you're driving. They don't care about any of that. They care about what kind of person you are. And so just try to be genuinely you. Don't try to create this persona. Don't create an Instagram persona to get real friends. Real friends don't care about that stuff.
There you go.
It was interesting. They were having a bonfire. Some of the Citizen 7 guys were having bonfires. And again, these are kind of spontaneous, like it's not an organized program. Hey, would you, hey, I can have 6 or 7 guys over and we can have a bonfire. But they asked 2 questions. They said, what's been going really well for you? And what's something heavy that you're carrying? And they said, it was just unbelievable. The good, but also some pretty tough stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that there are times where someone needs to ask, hey, what's a high point and a low point? Or what's been going right? What hasn't?
Yeah. Well, it's like when you pass somebody who you know and you say, how you doing? And you don't really listen to that response. You just say, oh, they must be doing well. And they say, yeah, I'm okay. You should, at that point, stop, turn around, and go, whoa.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What's that mean? Yeah. Right. And that's what I think what you're saying there is like
picking up, just being sensitive to
paying attention,
the nonverbal or
yes.
One of our coaches says, whenever someone says fine, that really means feelings inside, not expressed.
Love it. I'm using that. Yeah.
Quote. Well, Don's going to close us out, but any final thoughts, David or Todd? And then Don can close us here as our time comes to an end.
Just a pleasure to be here. And Don, someone I've seen be successful in our community, in your role beyond business, and respect you and what you're doing, and always enjoy running into you at all different places around town, it seems like. Yeah. So very fortunate to run into you and most recently and have the opportunity to sit here and chat with you. So thank you.
Yeah, I think both.
Todd and I are fellow wrestlers. I think
there you go.
bond. If you couldn't tell from our builds, they weren't asking us to be the center on the basketball team.
That's right.
That's great. Yeah, well, just love the inspiration you guys provide for so many people, the way that you give back. And at a time in life when a lot of people are living pretty indulgent lives, you guys are choosing to keep investing in the community, investing in younger guys' lives. So thank you for that model you're providing.
Yeah. I think that idea of trying to work on your heart, I find I can have a hardened heart pretty easy. It's all about me, and I can talk about various things, but I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful that as I look at the next generation of leadership, that you two are in a small circle of folk that are really making a difference and influencing the next generation. So that encouraged me. I loved hearing about what the Jewish Federation's doing. Love to hear your heart for your faith, not only for your faith, but for the community as a whole. And what I think that people don't realize, the Jewish friends that I know, that they're some of the most gracious and most generous people I know. And they're very, very accepting, very unconditionally. And I could learn a lot from that. So thank you both, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Hearted Indie, part of the Citizen 7, a growing amount of podcasts and all kinds of different things that you can find on our YouTube channel, like events. Maybe you missed an event. Some of those are up on the YouTube channel. And please join the mailing list. We've got a bunch of events coming up, especially towards the fall. There's Cosmic Baseball coming up. There's a lot of opportunities for you to have fun with other guys here in Indianapolis and to spark some friendships like you've heard today. Thanks for joining us here on Big Hearted Indie.